This poor guy Giamma has successfully passed 8 questions and won 10 million rupees. He can stop and review this huge bonus, or continue to conquer the last question to double the amount to 20 million rupees. But if he answers wrong, he will lose all the accumulated bonus. The last question will definitely be extremely tricky. If it were you, what would you do? Pocket 10 million and run away quietly, or risk your life to win 20 million? Our Giamma chose to continue. The whole studio was in an uproar. Up until now, no one on the show had ever wanted to become a millionaire and gone this far. The MC was about to announce the last question when the show ended. The decisive question had to be postponed until the next evening. Giamma had just stepped out of the studio when he was caught by the police. They found out that Giamma was an illiterate kid who had never been to school. How could he have answered 8 questions correctly in a row? While the participants of the program were all professors and doctors, none of them had won 16,000 rupees. Poor people like Giamma. Winning a few thousand rupees would make them happy and then withdraw. How could he dare to spend 10 million to bet 20 million on question number 9? There was only one possibility. Giamma cheated. The police brutally interacted with Giamma and even used electric shock. He was interacted all night long. The next morning, a police officer came to interrogate Giamma and asked, "How did you cheat? Did your accomplices in the audience signal by faking a cough? Or did you have a chip implanted in your body?" Giamma angrily explained, "I didn't cheat. I actually know the answers to all of those questions." Seeing Giamma being brutally interacted with and still refusing to admit his guilt, the boss and his henchmen began to waver. Could it be that this kid really wasn't cheating? The boss brought Giamma to the office and gave him a chance to clearly explain why he knew the answers to the questions from all different fields. He turned on the TV to replay the entire program from the beginning. The first question appeared, and the MC began to introduce the rules of the game. Giamma has 3 powers of assistance. 1 is to ask the audience in the studio. 2 is to eliminate 2 wrong options. 3 is to call a relative. The first question is worth 1,000 rupees. Which star played the main role in the 1973 movie, The House of Thieves, that caused a stir all over India? Giamma knows the answer to this. He grew up in the slums of Dharavi, the lowest class in Indian society, where it is as dirty and cramped as a desert. Giamma has an older brother named Salim. The 2 brothers are not interested in studying and just spend all day making trouble, but they are very business-minded. In the slums there are a few makeshift toilets. These 2 brothers came up with an idea to make money. Giamma watches the toilets, while Salim goes around soliciting customers. People who are cleaning toilets have to pay them to come in and relieve themselves. Don't underestimate them. The 2 brothers make a living from this business. That day Giamma had a stomachache. Because of that, Salim missed a customer. Salim angrily locked Giamma in the toilet. At that moment, a helicopter landed in the slum. Outside, adults were screaming. On the plane was movie star Amitabh Bachchan, who starred in The House of Wrath. The housewife had seen the film at a drive-in in the slums. He was a big fan of Amitabh Bachchan and always carried his picture with him. Looking through the open door, Giamma saw everyone running out. He also wanted to see his idol with his own eyes, but the door was locked. What should he do? At this time, the only way out was to jump into the cesspool below. So Giamma, covered in shit, moved forward. No one dared to come near him. The crowd automatically parted to create a path. Aman squeezed his way inside to get close to his idol, Amitabh Bachchan. Giamma answered the question easily. He won the first 1,000 rupees. The second question, what is written below the Indian emblem? The audience laughed again because the question was so easy, it was really a freebie. But Giamma was stunned, he didn't know. Giamma had to use the audience's help. The policeman saw this and roared. This is the most famous saying in India. Any literate child knows. You passed 8 questions and you don't know this. Tell me quickly, has your scam been exposed? Giamma did not answer but instead asked the policeman. How much is a plate of Pu Puri at Duhu Beach? Puri. 10 rupees a plate. After Diwali it is 15 rupees. Who stole the Walmart inspector's bicycle? It was last Thursday outside Santa Cruz station. Do you know? Who in Duhu doesn't know? Even 5-year-olds know. Different social classes have different understandings. The poor do not have access to the knowledge of the upper class. Similarly, the middle and upper classes do not know anything about the miserable lives of the poor. There was nothing to refute with Giamma's explanation. The policeman had no choice but to continue watching the show. By now, Giamma had accumulated a bonus of 4,000 rupees when the third question appeared. This question started off a little difficult because it was related to religion. What is the object held in the right hand of the Hindu god Giamma? Giamma looked pained when he heard this question. He was pained because he knew the answer too well. That day, when mother took her 2 brothers out for a walk, there was a religious riot. Giamma's family was Muslim, and in India, Muslims and Hindus were always at odds. During the riot, Giamma's mother was beaten to death by Hindus. The 2 brothers ran away in the chaos and saw a Hindu boy dressed as Giamma holding a bow and arrow in his right hand. So the answer was bow and arrow. The final answer. Final answer. The computer locked the answer D. Congratulations. You have won 16,000 rupees. If only he could choose. Giamma wished he had never known this answer. Then he would not have lost his mother. But now he got the answer right. Maybe his mother was blessing him. The prize money had now accumulated to 16,000 rupees. During the commercial break, the MC sneaked up to Giamma and asked him to make a deal. 16,000 rupees is not a small amount. It's best if you take the money and run, because there's no way he can pass the next round. He clearly has no good intentions and just wants to scare Jia Ma. But Jia Ma isn't afraid at all. The ad ended and the MC asked if he wanted to continue. He quickly and firmly replied, continue. The fourth question was twice as difficult. Which Indian poet composed the song Embracing the Light? Jia Ma was lost in his memories again. During that riot, the two Jia Ma brothers met a little girl. She also lost her family in that chaos. The three orphans began a wandering life. They lived in a deserted area and made a living by collecting scrap metal. Until one day a man came to them. He took the three children to a suburb. There were many orphans like them there. First glance he seems nice. Feeds them, houses them, treats them well. But don't let that look fool you. He is a wolf in human skin. He will train each child to become a gangster based on their personality and ability, or turn them into disabled beggars to earn money for himself. Jama's brother Salim was brave and had the blood of a thug, so he was chosen by the thug to be the boss to manage the children here. Because he was trusted by him, Salim became more and more arrogant. Seeing that Latika seemed to like Jama, he deliberately made things difficult for her. Latika threw chili peppers into Salim's pants in the middle of the night to get revenge. The pain was unbearable, so Salim vowed to get revenge on Latika. The evil man taught each child a song called Embrace the Light. He said that if they sang well, they would be rewarded with candy. Little did the children know that those who sang well would be sent to beg. Because this song is sung by disabled people, it will be more contagious. People will give more alms to blind people. Salim has seen with his own eyes people being drugged and having poison put in their eyes. That day, the thug told Salim to call Jama here. It was obvious that Jama was about to be blinded. The thug also took this opportunity to test whether Salim was suitable to be his lackey or not. No matter how fierce Salim was, he was not cold-blooded. How could a man have the heart to blind his own brother? Salim called Jama over but suddenly threw poison in the bastard's face. Taking advantage of the moment when he had not yet reacted, Salim pulled Jama away and ran. Latika also ran after the two brothers. They crossed a small forest and ran to the train station. The two brothers climbed onto the train. Salim reached out to pull Latika, but just as the train accelerated, he suddenly let go. Latika stood alone on the platform, terrified, watching the bastard chase after her and grab her. Jama was about to jump into the ship to save Latika but was stopped by Salim. Salim said that Latika tried to let go. If he turned back he would be blinded. Don't worry, the bastard won't do anything to Latika. Since then, Latika has been separated from her two brothers. Jama thought that Salim did this to get revenge for Latika throwing chili peppers down his pants. But when he turned around, Jama saw that the train was full of men. He immediately understood his brother's intentions. He knew Indian society too well. If Latika boarded this train, she would be in even more danger. It was this experience that helped Jama know that the song Embracing the Light was composed by the poet Sardars. This is the answer to question number 4. Sardars, are you sure? After hearing this story, the policeman was very curious. Did the bastard really do nothing to the girl? Jama said that Latika was not blinded. But Jama later learned that Latika was useful to the bastard in another way. After their successful escape, the Jama brothers lived on the train. They lived like that for many years. The two brothers sold goods on the train. They didn't dare spend any money they earned. Whenever they were hungry, they climbed onto the roof of the train and stuck their hands through the windows to mix the passengers' food. But then one day while working, the two brothers were discovered and fell off the train, finding themselves near the Taj Mahal, one of the most famous tourist attractions in India. It is also one of the most beautiful architectural works in the world. There are many foreign tourists here. The two brothers came up with the idea of pretending to be tour guides. They knew nothing about the history of the Taj Mahal. But foreign tourists were even more clueless. The two brothers talked nonsense and earned quite a few dollars. Life was no better. Jama wondered how much better it would be if Latika were here. The two brothers scammed tourists here for a while, but were eventually discovered by security and kicked out of the Taj Mahal. Unable to continue operating in the official tourist areas, they took tourists to the slums. But when they returned, they found the tourists' cars had been completely ransacked. Even the tires had been taken. The police thought Jama was the mastermind and beat him up. Jama was upset and said, "It wasn't me. You want to see the real India?" After this incident, Jama decided to return to Mumbai to find Latika. Salim could not convince Jama, so he had to follow. That day Jama met an old friend. The boy was now blind in both eyes and was singing and begging. Even though he was an adult, he was still controlled by the soldier. Jama gave him $100. The boy could not believe that anyone would give him so much money. Moreover, judging by the voice, the person who gave the money seemed to be just a child. He asked Jama who was on the $100 bill. An old bald man with long hair on both sides like a girl, Benjamin Franklin. And this was the number 5 question that Jama had encountered. Who was on the $100 bill? Jama answered without hesitation. "I choose C, Benjamin Franklin." Correct answer. Jama has now accumulated 1,000,000 rupees in cash. He still decided to continue answering the question. Question 6. Who invented the revolver? The story went back to the past. The old friend told Jama that Latika was still alive. The bandit was still hunting the two brothers. If Jama was afraid, she would not have returned to Mumbai. Based on the address Jama found Latika, she was being forced by the bandit to work as a dancer in the red light district. If she grew up a little more, she would be turned into their merchandise. Jama rushed in to save Latika but was stopped by the soldier who brought his men. "Oh, it's the Jama brothers. I've been looking for you for a long time, and yet you dare to walk into my net." Before the soldier could finish his act, Salim suddenly pulled out a revolver. The frightened soldier quickly took out his wallet, intending to use money to buy his life. But Salim knew that this kind of person might beg for mercy but would definitely take revenge later. Therefore he could not take the risk. Jama was scared, but Latika was much calmer. She picked up the money and quickly left. The three of them ran to a motel. Salim was worried that the soldier's accomplices would come looking for him. He took a sip of wine to calm down. Then he went to seek refuge with a gangster boss. This boss was originally the enemy of the bandit. Knowing that Salim had defeated the bandit, the boss immediately agreed to let him join the gang. Returning to the motel under the influence of alcohol, Salim wanted to do something bad to Latika. Jama desperately tried to stop him, but Salim pointed a gun at Jama and threatened him. "If you dare to come in again, I will use this gun to shoot you dead." Jama refused to go. Latika was afraid that Salim would actually shoot her, so she agreed to sacrifice herself. Jama was angry and left, never to see them again. So question number 6. Who invented the revolver? Samuel Kwan. Jama answered correctly. He won a huge prize of 2.5 million rupees. The policeman looked suspicious at this. In the story you told, there was a murder case. If it was investigated, you would be an accomplice. You dare to admit such a serious matter, but you dare not admit that you cheated. "I did not cheat, so why should I admit it?" At this point, the police officer began to believe that Jama did not cheat. After all, the crime of being an accomplice was not a small matter. The police officer was curious. He was just a normal tea maker. Why did he want to join this program? He probably didn't expect the questions to be related to his experiences, right? This story had to be told later. Years passed. Jama grew up and worked as an assistant for a telecommunications company, actually a tea maker. Even though he left in anger back then, he never forgot Latika. That day he was taking over for a colleague, and everyone had a phone these days. Jama took the opportunity to find Latika's number. He searched the database for her name, but there were too many people with the same name to find it. Jama entered his brother Salim's name again. This time there were only 15 people with the same name. He took a risk and dialed each number one by one. On the third number he heard a familiar voice. "Dear customer, this is a call from X5 company. Dear customers, we offer free upgrades. Is this you, Jama?" Although they haven't seen each other for many years, the two brothers still recognized each other's voices and met again. Salim had done something wrong to Latika while drunk. When he woke up, he was extremely regretful. Over the years, he had always thought of his younger brother. Jama was filled with resentment. Seeing Salim approaching, Jama rushed in and punched him. Salim did not fight back. He knew Jama needed to calm down. After Jama calmed down, the two brothers began to talk. Salim still follows the mafia boss, but his status is much higher than before. Thanks to his brother, Jama finally knows Latika's whereabouts. Only everything is different now. He finds the girl he has been dreaming about day and night in a luxurious villa. Latika became the mafia boss's pet, imprisoned in that mansion. Her face was covered with bruises, even had dark circles under her eyes. It seemed like she had interacted with him quite a bit. Jama wanted to take her away, but Latika did not agree. The mafia boss was now very powerful, so she was afraid of being captured by him. With no other choice, Jama told her that every day at 5 p.m., he would come to the train station to wait for her whenever she wanted to leave. "Come to the train station to find him," Jama said and did. From then on, every day at 5 p.m., he went to the train station to wait for Latika. Then one day Latika finally thought it through. She decided to follow Jama to leave the city, to escape her life of imprisonment. Jama was overjoyed, but just as they were about to leave, Salim was ordered to chase and bring Latika back. Latika was not taken back to the villa but to another place. Jama couldn't find her no matter how hard she searched, which was why Jama joined this program. He didn't do it for the huge bonus, but just so Latika could see him. After some sad memories, the host asked question number 7. In which city in England is Cambridge Business District located? Although he was just a regular employee at a telecommunications company, Jama often had to take over for his colleagues to answer the phone. He interacted with many foreign customers, so he was not unfamiliar with foreign culture. This question is a trap. Many people hear Cambridge and immediately think of the city of Cambridge. But in fact, I chose answer D. Your answer is completely correct. Question 7 was answered correctly. The accumulated prize money was 5 million rupees. Even Jama did not expect things to go so smoothly. The next question: who is the highest scoring cricketer in the history of the tournament? Jama was helpless with this question. He had never been exposed to cricket before. At this time the program entered the commercial break. The host and Jama went to the bathroom together. In the bathroom the host said to Jama, "Great. Since this nationally famous program aired, I was the only one who answered 7 questions correctly. If you answer this question correctly, you will surpass me. I sincerely wish you success and you will definitely succeed." After saying that, the host left. Jama was confused and did not understand what he was talking about. Suddenly he saw the host write a letter on the mirror. Was he helping him cheat? Back in the studio, Jama used the right to eliminate 2 wrong answers. The result was answers B and D. Could it be that the host was really helping him? The answer was B. Jama had gone through too many hardships in his childhood, rarely meeting good people. He clearly understood that a stranger would not risk cheating to help him complete the question, so he concluded that the host was cheating him. The answer was definitely not B. So he knew, actually Jama didn't know if he hadn't deliberately set him up. Perhaps he had randomly chosen answer B. Jama had indeed answered correctly. The host was indeed setting him up. Jama had set a record. He had already won 10 million rupees in prize money. But it wasn't over yet. Jama had two options: stop playing and go home with 10 million rupees, or continue answering question number 9. If he answered correctly, the prize money would double to 20 million rupees. But if he got it wrong, he would be stripped of his hand. Jama did not hesitate to continue, although it felt crazy. The audience was not too surprised. Obviously they were used to this. The host started reading the questions. The last question, coincidentally, the show was about to end. The last question had to be postponed to the live broadcast tomorrow night, making the audience restless. Immediately after the show ended, the host called the police to accuse Jama of cheating. The police also found out that Jama was illiterate, so they assumed that he must have cheated, so they forced Jama to join them. Fortunately, after hearing Jama's story, the police felt that it was reasonable, and there was no evidence that he cheated. Finally, the policeman personally took Jama back to the studio to continue the competition. That night, the ratings of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire skyrocketed, and almost all of India was watching the show, including Salim and Latika. They all realized that Jama was not after money but just wanted Latika to see him. Latika was very touched. She wanted to immediately run to Jama, but she was trapped and couldn't go. At this moment, Salim suddenly smiled. That kid never gave up, never. Crazy kid. A slight smile appeared on Salim's lips. In the end, he decided to give up his grudges and choose family. He gave Latika the car keys so she could escape. Latika was a bit hesitant because if she ran away, the gangster would kill Salim. But Salim insisted that Latika go find Jama. He even gave her his phone. Please forgive me for everything I did. I wish you happiness. The show was about to start. Latika drove to the TV station. But by the time the show aired, she still hadn't arrived because of the traffic jam. She had to get out of the car and find a TV on the side of the road to watch. Salim's phone was left in the car. Question number 9 was given in the novel The Three Musketeers. There were 2 musketeers named Athos and Porthos. What was the name of the third musketeer? Oh, this question was clearly different from the one the host read yesterday. It seemed that the program organizers had racked their brains and researched Jama thoroughly over the past day before coming up with this new question. Hearing the question, Jama smiled happily. When they were young, Jama and Salim did not like studying and were always mischievous, so their teachers called them the Two Musketeers. This nickname came from the book The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. Therefore, the two brothers had known this book since they were young, but Jama only remembered the names of the 2 musketeers, Athos and Porthos. As for the third person's name, he didn't know, so he decided to use his last resort to call his relatives. Latika was watching TV when she suddenly realized. Right before the call was cut off, she hurriedly picked up the phone. I guess this wasn't his brother. Hearing Latika's voice, Jama smiled brightly. He no longer cared about answering the question, but only asked Latika if she was safe. Only after receiving a positive answer did Jama feel relieved. The host was so rude. Without giving the couple time to confide, Lean repeated the question and urged Latika to give Jama the answer. I don't know. Jama wished him luck. Now Jama could only rely on himself. Knowing that Latika was safe, Jama felt extremely relieved. He gave an answer without hesitation. Why A? I can't guess. Okay, the answer was already decided as A. Unfortunately, I have to tell you that this was the correct answer at that moment. All the poor people in India were cheering for this millionaire from the slums. The lower classes had just won a glorious victory. At the same time, the gangster was watching TV. He heard Latika's voice just now and immediately understood everything. He decided to kill Salim, the traitor. Salim was carrying all the money he had earned over the years and was boredly waiting for the boss to come in when he appeared. Salim immediately opened fire to save his brother. He was then shot dead by a barrage of gunfire. At the end of the show, Jama went to the train station again and met Latika again. After going through so much suffering, the couple can finally enjoy life. At the beginning of the film, there is a question. How did Jama reach the final step? A. Fraud, B. Luck, C. Genius, D. Fate. After watching the film, you must have known the answer, right? This film swept many Oscar awards in 2009 with an absolutely unbeatable style. The director cleverly used the question and answer format to tell a true story about Indian society at the lowest level. Viewers who have not seen the original will have their eyes opened. Today's story ends here. Thank you for watching the movie. What do you think of this movie? Comment below.